Blog Talk Radio.
It's Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Once again, it's time for the most intriguing talk radio on the internet today. This is Sasquatch Radio. Breaking news and information from around the world. Interviews with men and women investigating the mystery. The latest high-tech equipment. Cutting-edge research techniques. And amazing discoveries. Real-life people sharing real-life encounters. The director and founder of Sasquatch, Washington, Virginia. Here is your host, Billy Willard. Something is out there in the dark, watching, waiting. It's time to unleash the beast. This is Sasquatch Radio.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is December 21st, 2009. We're just 4 short days away from Christmas. I'm sure everybody's just excited and probably have all their gifts already. I bet nobody has to go to the store. Yeah, right. I'm your host, Billy Willard, and this is my co-host, Mr. Mike Killen. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Hey, Billy. I'm just fine. How are you tonight?
I'm doing just fine. You got all your Christmas shopping done?
Well, funny thing is, I don't hardly do much of it, so that's a good thing. I just pay the bills. The wife does most of it. So.
All right. Well, the only thing I'm asking for is a flare thermal unit. So I thank you. I appreciate it.
I get to pay for stuff, but I don't have to shop for most of it. So that's a plus.
Well, just so everyone knows, just a quick program note. Mr. Garrett Redbird, who was supposed to be on the air with us tonight, had to reschedule. He's got a close family member that's in the hospital in Oklahoma City. He's not expected to make it. He's having what's called renal failure, and the dialysis isn't working for him. So everybody can say a quick prayer for him and his family, and hope everything goes well for them. Hate to see that happen anytime, but of course, especially right now, in the holiday season, the family and everything's at the forefront. So definitely want to offer him some prayer and support. So if he's listening to this show, we're all thinking about you, bud. But we had someone that was very nice enough to, at the last minute, accept to come on the show as our guest tonight, and that would be Mrs. Melissa Hovey from Ohio, who is the president of the American Bigfoot Society. How you doing tonight, Melissa?
I'm doing really good, Billy. How you guys doing?
Doing just fine.
Hey, Melissa.
Thank you for coming on.
Hi, Mike.
Thank you for coming on at last minute. We appreciate it.
Well, I'm here for you, Billy.
Well, that's good to know. Good to know. Oh, by the way, did you get me the flare unit for Christmas?
You're going to have to wait till Christmas and find out.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
I know somebody got it for me. I just can't figure out who it is.
Well,
It might have been Bruce because he's independently wealthy if he's listening in.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what everybody says. He buys 32-ounce steak three times a day for a meal. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, welcome to the show. Of course, we will. We've had you on before when we did the American Bigfoot Society expedition show and stuff like that, but we've never had you on individually to really tell everyone, who you are, what you do, what's your thoughts on research, because it's nice to have the female perspective of this, and so we'll let you go ahead and kind of give an introduction of yourself.
Well, yeah. Well, my name is Melissa Hovey, as many of you know. I am a researcher currently living in the state of Ohio. I am the president of the American Bigfoot Society. I co-host a bi-weekly radio program with my best friend, Monica Rollins, called The Gray Area. I have a website called thesearchforbigfoot.org, and I also own a blog, which I don't update as much as I probably should, called The Search for Bigfoot. So I think that's pretty much about me. I'm just here.
Well, what got you started, Melissa, in this research?
Well, actually, it's because of someone else. I actually started getting some interest when I was living in Wisconsin, and I was due for a move to Texas. And I met up with somebody from another website, and him and I had started talking because of something he posted about a specific situation that had gone on in Hovey, Oklahoma. And I felt like he had more information, and I was wanting the information, so I messaged him privately, and him and I talked about it, and we just became friends, and he just kind of introduced me to the field of research. I mean, I didn't even know that there were websites out there or even, internet conversations going on about the research. I figured it was just private people doing it out of their home, and, nobody ever really talked about what they were doing. So that's how I was introduced to the field of research. My own personal interest has been, since I was a kid. I think that's probably the way for most of us. Although I will admit, while most people say, one of the first things that caught their attention for it was the movie Boggy Creek, I didn't see that for the first time until I moved to Texas, and I seen that in the home of my friend Monica. So,
wow.
Yeah, I'd heard about it, but I had never seen the movie. So, no, it's just from seeing various television shows, and, of course, the Patterson film is really what caught my attention as a kid, and that's just, it's always just been an interest for me, I guess, and primarily because my background in education is, with the legal profession, and I've spent many, many years dealing with witnesses and people who have stories to tell, people who have information about various things in life and don't necessarily always know the best way of getting that story out there. And that's what I've done, for quite some time, is talk to these kinds of people and help verify fact from fiction. So, I thought maybe I could lend a little bit of my knowledge to this. So, Here I am.
Well, that's good. That's good. Before I go on, Mike, has there been any questions or anything yet?
I have not seen any questions. No. Got some chit-chat going on as usual. All our chat room users kind of talking amongst themselves, but I didn't see any questions in all caps or any questions for that matter. But hopefully people will remember to put it in all caps. But
yeah. I'm going to assume that's probably Abe listening in, but we better check just to be sure. Skype caller, you're on the air.
Correct as usual, Billy. Just call to listen in.
All right, buddy. Just throw your little hand up there if you have a question. I'll be watching out for the little hand to show up.
Will do, bud.
All right, buddy.
And speaking of that, Billy, you're going to have to keep tabs on the switchboard because I am off the switchboard.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. I told you I had, before the show started, I had all sorts of trouble logging in and almost didn't get in as, under the co-host title. But I got into chat, and somehow or other I lost the switchboard, and I'm afraid if I try to go and log back in, it'll bump me off of the chat. I'll lose that, so I'm not about to do that. So as far as phone callers, I can't see the lines to tell you that somebody's on the line. So, and we just did have a question in chat from John Tennessee, John TN. He just was asking. Let's see. He says, Got to stop the scroll because it's jumping all over. He says, no disrespect to tonight's guest, but did you guys ever get in touch with Lori Ledger, last week's no-show?
Yes, I did. Matter of fact, I spoke to her this afternoon. What had happened, I called her, and apparently what happened was that she got the timing wrong. She didn't realize she was an hour behind us, and apparently was on the computer, so every time, and she's got dial-up, so every time I tried to call her, of course, I was getting a busy signal. I talked to her this afternoon. We got everything straight. So 2 weeks from tonight, we will have her on the show. Next week, we're actually going to have Todd Standing from Sylvanic. Everybody knows him as the Sylvanic guy. We'll have him on next week, and then the week after, we've got Lori Ledger on. So she'll be there in 2 weeks, and bringing in the new year, I guess you could say. So there's that. And then we'll probably have Garrett Redbird on probably the week after that, but I have to double check all that with him. Any other questions in there, Mike?
I did not see after that. Let me see. Nope. Somebody's kind of asking a question, but I guess they want it just in chat because they actually put at the end of it, "Do not announce." Do not read on air. So apparently that's meant for chat only.
Okay.
All right.
Well, now, Melissa, a lot of people may or may not know you were in an episode of Monster Quest. I don't know if you want to talk about that or not, but what good, I guess, positive things came from Monster Quest? Was there any negative things that you would have rather, not had happened, or you got anything to add, or?
Well, I think personally, the positive I think that came from that was, for me personally, I left the comfort of the big city and survived in the Pacific Northwest for 8 days.
Right.
And it, for me personally, this whole getting involved with the field of Bigfoot research and staying in a tent is something that my dad still can't even wrap his brain around. But it's being out there and working with these other women. I always enjoy my time in the field with Monica, and Kathy Moskowitz is a wonderful person, and I love spending time with her too. I learned so much from these women, and
right.
I went there with a specific goal in mind of showing that women are just as capable, because I notice oftentimes that it's always, it's usually the men that are discussed in what they're doing. And,
right.
There's been like Kathy Moskowitz, her name is out there, and, Bobby Short. But
right.
as a rule, there's not many women. You don't really hear what the women are doing in this field of research. And so, for me personally, I thought that it was a good thing to showcase that women can get out there. We do get out there, and we can be just as effective and not get lost, not get hurt, not break a nail, and not cry about it. You know what I mean? So
right.
I thought that was actually really good. I wish that they had shown more of the footage of what they shot with us actually doing some of the things that, they were just, I can't even describe for you what we went through to hike down into Skookum Meadows, and I really wish that they had shown that, because that was an ordeal. But
I'm sure.
It's what I try to stress to people is that when they make these programs, they don't make them with the Bigfoot researcher in mind, because whether we want to admit it or not, this is a small community compared to the rest of the world. They're trying to sell this idea, or they're trying to, put this out there for the rest of the world, not for us.
Right. Right.
So oftentimes there's things that are shown that we think, oh, God, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah.
But, it's more of to capture the interest of that person who's not involved and might think to themselves, hey, I've always kind of wondered about this. What if that is true? That's what they're doing. So, and I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
As long as it's done within reason.
Right. I mean, if anything, Monster Quest is really, you know, well, first of all, it's one of the History Channel's best shows, you know, as far as the ratings. But the other thing is it's really bringing the attention of, you know, all these cryptids, you know, really to the public. You know, some people might smirk at it and think it's funny, but there's those few out there that, you know, may be watching these shows and may say, you know, and actually may spark their interest to talk about something maybe they've seen. You know, who knows?
Right.
But,
and I think ultimately, I think that is the goal. That is the goal, I think, of these shows. And, you know, I know a lot of researchers get upset, and, you know, men and women alike, you know, they get upset because certain things are shown and certain things are not. And, you know, but when I'll be the first to admit, I think that Monster Quest was a quality program. I will say that.
Right.
And I do think that they did make us look as professional as possible. But at the same point, it's not about us. And we need to remember that when these shows come out. And there's some that have been out there that I thought, whew, well, no, I'm glad I wasn't a part of that. But you know, I mean, it's kind of difficult because as a researcher, you want the information, good information, to get out and be public, but you really don't have the final say. So, you know, yeah. In the end, you're just kind of at the will of an editor and a production company. So it's a different experience.
Yeah,
well,
that's for sure.
Melissa, would you basically say in general terms that your experience with the taping with the Monster Quest crew was overall positive, or more positive than negative? Because I have to say I would think in our case it was more negative than positive.
Well, boy. Yeah. Let me see here. I'm going to try to make this as nice as possible. You know, I really wish. Wait.
Hold on a minute. Melissa Hovey, the straight shooter from the gray area, the pull no punches host of that show, is going to sugarcoat something? Hold on. Wait a minute.
Yes, that's right. You've heard it here first, folks. You know. Well, you know.
Am I rubbing off on you, Melissa?
I think so. I've been talking to Billy too much lately.
I've never known Melissa to sugarcoat anything. I mean, you know, she just lays it out there and doesn't care whose feelings get hurt or whatever. Hey, this is how it is, and that's the way it is, and you know, that's it. End of story. Now she's walking on glass now.
Well, you know, it happens with age, I think. You know, well, I mean, honest answer is this. I mean, I wish that Doug Hychek had actually put someone on the payroll to do the shooting that understood what Bigfoot research really was. He didn't do that, and that was unfortunate because there was I feel a lot of missed opportunities. But you know what, like I said, you can't pick and choose when you're not part of the production company. That was the position we were put in, and I don't fault Doug for that. You know, but I wish that he had, because I think that this could have been even better. You know, and
I know one of your biggest complaints, because we spoke about this in the past already. One of your biggest complaints was it seemed as though the cameraman he had a curfew, basically self-imposed curfew.
Yeah.
And as anybody that's ever been on an expedition knows, you know, Squatch, you know, they don't wear watches. You know what I mean?
No, they don't.
They don't.
No.
They don't curtail their activities after a certain time and decide it's time for bed. You know.
Right.
If anything, the later into the night, the more activity. So.
Right.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he did have a curfew. He retired to his tent by 10 o'clock every night, which was very frustrating for every woman involved, I believe. But, you know, like I said, I mean, there's really nothing that we could do about it. And, yeah, it was very, very frustrating for me because I was there with the express purpose of trying to show, you know, and making other women feel comfortable out there who are not involved, you know, to get into this field of research. Because, you know, there's a lot of women who say, you know, I'm not going to, because I hear from women all the time who say to me, I really think what you're doing is great. I wish I was as comfortable in the woods sleeping in a tent as you are. I think that if they had shown this more, what we were doing, and the fact that we survived it, that I think that it would have made these other women feel more comfortable about becoming involved. There's a lot of misunderstandings when it comes to, the time that you spend in the woods. A lot of women and men are afraid of that bear that could be around the corner, or they're afraid of that hike that, they might slip and fall or whatever. But there's more positives that can come out of things like that. And I wish that those things had been shown, because I think that we could have actually brought in more people who were actually interested.
Right.
And that was my goal.
Right. Well, the questions are now starting to stack up for Mr. Mike.
Yep, we got a couple of questions popping in there, yeah.
Did you spot the one up there that's not in caps?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just was asking just to clarify if that is a question for our guests. I just typed it in. Is that a question? Because, sometimes people ask questions of other people in the chat, and that's why we always ask them to try to remember to put it in all caps, because it makes it much easier. Sometimes, right, people are asking questions of each other, and they'll put the question mark at the end, and you're not sure, is it, do they want us to ask the guest, or are they talking amongst themselves? I have not received an answer, but I'm going to assume that was probably meant for the guest.
Yeah, they just did answer. They said yes, it was.
Okay. All righty. So we'll start with that first question, and let me get back up here to the top. There was a couple right in a row. It seemed like once that first question popped out there, everybody lifted up their fingers and started typing.
They were ready.
All right, here we go. First question from Ren12. Have you changed your methods of how you search in the field over time? And are you looking forward to trying new methods of inviting interaction with SAS?
I got to be honest with this person and say that, that's, first of all, it's a very good question. But I have to be honest and tell you, I find that if you go back through reports, because I've spent an awful lot of time reading reports and getting information from those reports, I find that if you really read those, you find that the majority of people who are having sightings are really not doing anything to try to have a sighting. So when I go into the field, we with the American Bigfoot Society, we do organize expeditions, and we do have night ops where we do sit out there in the middle of the night and we're quiet, and we have our little radios, and we have our cameras and everything going, and night vision and yada yada yada. But I don't think that we really do anything to try to, other than call blasting, to try to elicit a response from the animal or anything like that. Because I honestly think that if this animal is going to come to you, it's going to, regardless of what you do. And if it's not going to, it's not gonna. It's just, I think that's just the way it is. And I don't think that there's really a whole lot that we can do to change that. I do think about other options, different things to try, and which is what's formed some of my friendships in this, is people who come up with different ideas. Like Toby Tolman, he actually sits on the board of directors for our organization. He comes up with some excellent ideas when it comes to technology. And, I think that anything else that you can put into the field or new ideas should be tried. And if it works, keep trying it. I'm not against trying anything. Well, I do have some limits as far as, what I will do. But, I think it's up to the individual researcher. If you find something that works for you, then keep doing it. If it doesn't work after a period of time, then try something different. That's all you can really do at this point.
All right. We got a couple of more questions. Next question is from our friend Andy Drew. And he says, question from Melissa, did Monster Quest make you jump in quicksand and get rescued for ratings, but that part was cut out?
No, but we did have a couple people fall in a hidden creek, but that wasn't intentional. They did that totally by mistake, so, but no. And
okay.
I would not have done that either, so.
Somehow I had a very strong doubt that Melissa Hovey would play the damsel in distress for anybody.
No. No.
Okay.
No.
John from Tennessee, John TN, is saying his other question here is, Melissa, have you ever had a sighting yourself, or have you witnessed any evidence with yourself that convinces you are not wasting your time in the field?
That's a good question too. Man, your people are on the ball. I've had a couple of things happen in the field. One was out there in Skookum during the filming, and that was with my friend Monica. We had something circling the tent, and we could not figure out what it was. And then down in Texas, and I've told that story quite a bit. We worked for quite a while trying to push something out of the brush line, and it would not come out and be seen. And I can't remember what the year was on that expedition report, but there was actually some vocalizations that were taped by a member of the group that I was with, and that was pretty convincing that there was absolutely something there. What it was, though, we still don't know. And but yeah, that was pretty intense. I thought that was something. But has it convinced me that the animal's out there? You know, I can't say for certain. You know, I mean, I kind of, I go back and forth, because while these things are really interesting and they happen, you find out later that there's a bear, or you find out there's elk in the area. I try not to get my hopes up too high. I try to keep it leveled with some good common sense. As soon as I see it, I'll believe it. So
yeah.
That's just kind of where I stand in this, because I think you have to, because when you start believing everything that you're doing is, or hearing or seeing or whatever is evidence of a Bigfoot, I think you start to cross over that territory into a different area where, you're talking to this shadow in the woods that turns out later to be the bear that mauls you to death, So, I mean, it's just...
So, Melissa, would you say when they cross over, are they then going into the gray area?
No. No, they've surpassed the gray area. So they need to find another program.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, let me grab this phone call real quick before you
get
the other questions here. Caller from the 404 area code, you're on the air.
Hey, Melissa, and I just had a quick question for you. When you guys go out, are you going to the same location repeatedly, an area that you know, or are you just hitting different areas that you hear of sightings being taken at?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, if you're talking about the American Bigfoot Society, we have gone to different places.
No, I'm talking to you, because you mentioned you really haven't seen anything, and so I was wondering about that. And I was also wondering what kind of tracking you're doing, and are you finding signs that couldn't be a bear that are really unexplainable? Those types.
Right. Well, when I was in Texas, there were areas that we went to that were, known areas of activity, alleged activity. So, I mean, that, those were scheduled expeditions with the TBRC. Here in Ohio, I've been here now for a year and 2 months, I believe. I've been to multiple spots here in Ohio that have had activity in the past, or alleged activity in the past. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a tracker, because I'm not. I've been working in offices most of my life. I do know what some animal sign is, and to this point, I have not seen a stick structure that impresses me, that it's a Bigfoot-related thing. We did see something out in fact, it was on the episode with Monster Quest. There was a possible nesting area, which we determined later was most likely made by people who go into the mountains there, into the Cascades, and cut bear grass for floral shops. And this is something that they do. They pile up various types of things for their knees when they're down on the ground cutting. How that tree got broke, we don't know. But, I'm not out there, tracking like a professional tracker or anything like that. I mean, I look for footprints, and I think that collecting footprints is very important. I think looking for any sign of hair or anything like that is very important. And if I should find some of that, yes, I would collect that. I'm still learning the areas here of Ohio. So
you haven't gotten any audio that seems odd, or?
Nope, no, never. And that to me is the most disappointing because, I would love to get a vocalization recorded that's unknown. But, when you really stop and think about it, there's really not that many recordings out there that are unknown. And some here within the last couple of years, which have held up for quite a period of time, they found other elk. And now, as of the last couple of weeks, those of us here in Ohio need to be aware of the fact that an elk was shot here in Ohio, shot and killed. So I think that's, 2 this year? And elk are not supposed to be native to the state of Ohio. So that sets up another problem if you're going to be recording vocalizations in the state of Ohio. So that's I would like to be able to record an unknown vocal, but or at least hear one in the field. That would be fantastic. But that hasn't happened. It hasn't happened for me yet.
Okay. My only comment is I see everybody looking down for footprints all the time because that's most impressive, but you're missing what's up top, which are the trees that where hand rubs are at. And I see those a lot, and that's how I find tracks and trails and things like that. And it seems like everybody's always looking down because they want to get a cast of a footprint. That's just
okay. Okay, hold on one second. You said a hand rub? This is something I've never heard before.
Well, it's basic tracking. I mean, it's if you pick up any tracking book, it'll talk about tree rubs, basically,
right.
And it'll tell you what's the normative tree rub for animal life, and something at the 8-foot level is not going to be normative. So anyway, those are some things you should look for.
But you said
you're talking about something similar. You're talking about something similar to kind of like a buck. Bucks will rub the trees down at the 3-4 foot with the antlers and things like that. So you're saying look for something that's higher up.
Yeah, and bears will rub. They'll scratch their back. Bears will rub trees raw, scratching their backs. I guess deer may even do it. I have no idea. But I just see that as a big deficient area with most researchers. They're not looking up. That's what I do.
But wait, did I misunderstand? Okay, hold on. Did I misunderstand you? Did you say a hand rub?
Yeah, what I would consider where a hand placement would be. It's a tree rub.
Okay.
I can't prove that it's a hand, but it's a definitive track, and it's not something a deer's going to make, and not something a bear is going to make at that level.
Now, is this something that you found yourself in the past?
Oh yeah, I find them all the time, and you'll find trails that are commonly used, not by people, but they're it's off trails, if you will. And if you look closely enough, you'll see some pretty good wears on certain trees that, if you consider these guys to be walking bipedally, they're going to use trees just like people might. If they grab a tree, they're going up the hill, they just grab a tree to pull themselves up, or just put their hand on it as they go by. I mean, just natural. I do it.
I could see. That's actually a very interesting. That's actually very interesting that you mentioned that, because I'm sitting here thinking about even us in our own home, how we jump on the kids all the time because they place their hands on the wall, and smudge the wall, but they do it every single time. You know,
exactly.
These creatures may be living in an area like what like you're describing. Maybe if they use sort of the same pathway or whatever all the time. That's a very good point. I appreciate you bringing that out.
I literally found a tree rub that was the shape of a hand, where it was a steep hill, and something would have backhanded this tree to pull itself up the hill and keep going. And it looked like it was a pretty common grasping point, and it had fingers. I mean, it had finger rubs, and these were big fingers. And it was up 10-foot level. And when you're doing this, you could actually visualize the height of this particular specimen, being whatever. And if you figure, as you're looking at it, you think, well, if I was doing this, I'd have this at my shoulder level. Put my hand on this tree, and this thing's 8 foot tall. So at the shoulder, it's 8 foot tall, as one would think. You just use logic.
Right.
So, anyway,
can I ask which part of the country you're in?
I'm down in the southeast, the warmer part. Even though it's freezing now, I'm sure you guys are much colder up there. But yeah, I'm down here.
And how do you distinguish the age of the rub, being new or old?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You could look at the tree. If it's an older rub, you'll see the bark's been worn down, but then you've started to get some growth on it. Okay, so that's an older trail. If it's a more recent rub, it's the moss is still gone. There's no growth coming out of the bark, and it's still fresh, so it's still being used. And you'll see some off trails with lower rubs that of course you can't. I guess eliminate the people factor there, but not all of these guys are 8 feet tall. They grow, and so you'll tend to find the paths where the juveniles take, and there's less clearage of the branches and so forth. It's at a lower level, and then you'll find the big wide open paths where the big boys roam, and you'll see the big 8, 9, 10-foot rubs, and they're there, but everybody's looking down and trying to find that big footprint that they could put on their wall. So anyway,
very interesting. That's interesting.
Input. So and one other comment, everybody talks about Monster Quest, and I think Monster Quest, their niche is really bringing the professionals or the experts on there to comment about the different aspects of the apes and all that stuff. But there have been a few shows that have impressed me, but for the most part, no. And I would say Destination Truth is by far the better show as far as watching it and getting some real evidence while they're out there. They seem to know what they're doing. So I'm surprised they haven't called any of y'all.
Yeah, I've watched a few episodes. I never can catch it because I never catch with the days and times it's on. But I've seen a couple of the episodes of that, and was pretty interesting. But yeah, it's I know there's a lot of competition out there. There's talk going around about another show that's going to come on. It's going to be similar to the both of them.
Oh, really?
But I don't know if it's going to be A&E picking it up or one of the other ones. But it's definitely catching the interest of the world.
Well, I'm sure we'll see you on the show one time, one of you.
Yeah, well, thanks for calling in. Appreciate
All right,
it.
well, thank you. Can you just put me on hold and put me aside there?
Certainly can. Thanks a lot. Okay. Poor Mike is overrun with questions. I've seen so many questions scrolling through. I feel sorry for Mike.
Well, gotta feel sorry
for Melissa. Did you stop the scroll?
Yeah, I did. You gotta feel sorry for Melissa too, because I just read them. She's got to answer them all. This is a follow-up, because I think one of the last questions I read was from, the last question I read was from John Tennessee. This is a follow-up from him. And I think maybe he tuned in late, because Melissa kind of already answered this, but I'm just going to read it anyway. He said, what exactly made you get involved in this quest? But I know Melissa kind of already talked about that.
A little bit, yeah. A friend, somebody who became a friend. I was asking questions, and he introduced me to the forums, and it just kind of snowballed from there. whether that be good or bad. So I've given other interviews and I've said his name before, so if anybody wants to be angry that I'm a part of this, then you can go blame him.
So somewhere on one of these shows in the archives, if somebody wants to know who to point the finger at, they can find that name.
That's right.
Okay. All right. We have another question from Mizzo Squatchin. Mizzo, I guess that's Missouri. Mizzo Squatchin. I know the answer to this question, but I'll read it. He says, is there a Mr. Hovey?
Is there a Mr. Hovey? No. But I am engaged to a very wonderful man, which is what brought me from Texas to the state of Ohio. His name is Mr. Larson. So before long, my name will change from Hovey to Larson. But thank you for asking.
All right. And we have a question, Billy, here that I see quite often in the chat. And I'll read the question, and we'll see if you can guess who's asking. This question says, ask Melissa who is the world's greatest Bigfoot hunter.
Oh,
and,
that's easy.
Who do you think possibly that's a regular in chat might have posted that question in chat?
That's an easy question to answer. The answer, of course, is Billy Willard.
You're really asking for it now.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite the answer he was looking for.
Of course, we all know the answer to that question is John Cartwright. You know, and honestly, while I pick on John a lot and he picks on me and he throws himself out there as the world's greatest Bigfoot hunter, I will be very honest and tell people that it's stories like his that honestly keep me in the field of Bigfoot research. Because if it wasn't for people like John who have these kinds of encounters, I would think that this was all fantasy. I really would. And that's not to be rude or insulting to anybody, but it's, you know, I can't come up with an explanation for what John's saying. Although he gets a lot of grief, and a lot of people would like to say that, you know, the majority of these sightings are, you know, from sleep paralysis and things like that, which I find are just complete, you know, people who are not physicians and do not study sleep disorders should really stop trying to give internet diagnoses. They're not doctors. And to say something like that to somebody who's been through a situation like what John has been through, it infuriates me. It does. It angers me to the point of not being able to deal with it sometimes. And I think that's what keeps me in this field of research, is people like John. They've had something happen that is so extraordinary, he can't explain it, other people can't explain it, and it either ruins their lives or it touches them in some way that they just cannot get past it. And they either show up as members of new boards and start talking about it, or they stay quiet. And they privately email people that they come to trust by reading what they post on the internet. And I really feel for these people. And I wish I had answers for them. And I wish I had an answer for John. But, I mean, and that's a lot of the reasons why I stay in this. And yes, John has become the world's greatest Bigfoot hunter.
But at least in his mind.
Well.
And you know, and speaking of JC being the world's greatest Bigfoot hunter, I think it's probably, at this point, it's probably a toss-up. You can probably flip a coin between JC and Bruce, better known as Creature Seeker in the chat. I think between the two of them, it's probably flip a coin as to who's the world's greatest Oreo hunter, because I understand they basically battle over the Oreos on every expedition. So.
Yeah, well, they better at least one of them better bring them to this one coming up in April, because if they don't, they're going to have to deal with me.
Yeah. That's the price of admission, huh, Melissa? Bring a package of Oreos.
Oreos and chocolate, boys. Just remember.
All right. And just a minute or two ago, Melissa mentioned doctors. Speaking of, we have Dr. Onion in the chat. I think she's trying to you know, she's either JC is rubbing off on her a little too much, or she's trying to steal a little of JC's thunder. But she's ask Melissa who is the world's kindest Bigfoot hunter.
Oh, that would definitely be Linda, hands down. Dr. Onion, absolutely.
I think she's trying to steal a little of JC's thunder there.
Yeah. That's fine.
All right. We got another question here from CD Swatcher, and the question is, what unique things can women contribute to research? And that's something I'm sure Melissa can tackle.
Oh, yeah. You know, I think that, okay, I'm going to be very honest here with people. When I first became involved in this, I've seen that there was a lot of discussion about technology and, you know, game cams and things like this. And I'll tell you, I really started one heck of a brawl on a website forum when I said one day, you know, and the most of the people having these conversations were guys, and this takes nothing away from the men. I think what you're doing is wonderful. But nonetheless, if these things were working, if game cams and all this technology were really working, then we would have something to show for it that science cannot refute. And something inside of me says that the way women approach things is absolutely different. We have a more nurturing sense. We're nurturers by nature. Men are hunter-gatherers, which explains the game cams. And, you know, women are just nurturing. And we pay attention to things that, and think about things that I think that a lot of guys, when you bring it up with them, and I have experienced this, they actually think you're funny. They think it's funny to just, you know, sit there and do nothing. They think that it's not going to do anything if you just sit by a campfire and laugh and talk and have a good time. I think that a lot of the conversation that we're hearing now about drawing out the curiosity of the animal was actually started by women, because women were talking about this openly on the forums. You know, drawing out the animal's curiosity, finding ways of doing that, whether it be by music or laughing or talking, or some women sing. I don't sing, thank you. But, you know, it's, you know, women have a different way of looking at things, and that's not taking anything away from men. But it's just in our unique genders. I mean, there are things that are inherently male and things that are inherently female, and that doesn't take away anything from anyone else. But, I mean, it's just a simple fact that if game cams were working, if all these other things were working, we would have something to show science, and we just don't. And that's frustrating. That's really frustrating.
Well, the current game cams that they've had for all these years, yeah, I agree with you. But it'll be interesting to see once Bill Dranginis gets enough of his iGotcha camera system in the hands of researchers. It'd be interesting to see if finally we get some kind of video or some really good, close-up still shots, because the main argument has been that no matter how quiet you think these things are giving off sounds,
Right.
So.
Well, and I think that they do. I mean, we already know that bears are attracted to game cams. It's the petroleum. And for those of you that have never heard this, please pay attention. Bears are attracted to petroleum. If you put a game cam out, because I've seen this here recently too, and this has been discussed over the last year on numerous programs, people put out these game cams and they get destroyed. I mean, tore up, chewed. And people are saying, it's got to be a Bigfoot. There's nothing else that could rip it down from that tree. That is absolutely not true. Bears will tear up your stuff. They will destroy them, and they will chew them. They will stomp them into the ground. They will tear them off of a tree. And I know this because the TBRC has lost a lot of game cams to bears from this very thing. It's the petroleum inside of the game cam. They can smell it, and they're attracted to it. Now, would a primate like a Bigfoot know? Would it be attracted to something like that? We don't know. I have no idea, because who knows what frequencies it can hear. But I have to think that there's inner workings going on inside that machine that somebody might be able to hear. So I guess it's possible. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's been the discussion, is that there's, ultrasonic sounds, above, like maybe dogs and wolves and certain canine-type animals, it could hear it as well as some other animals, but it's just above the range of human hearing, So
right.
The whole idea of Bill Drangenis' camera system is supposed to be basically totally silent, and in fact it only the capacitors only fire up just a split second before it's going to take the short video clip or the pictures, and then it goes back to a dormant state. It's not powered up all the time, so there's no whine or hiss or any noise, coming from it. So, just saying, be interesting. You get enough of those type of, brand new technology cameras out there. Maybe we'll finally get something.
Well, it's possible. Yeah,
it's a good possibility. Hey, Mike, I'm going to cut to a quick break to give everybody a little breather.
Okay.
Because I know Melissa's been really going at it. She probably needs just a few-minute break. And then we'll get right back to it. And, of course, JC, I'm surprised I haven't seen it in the chat room yet, but I'm sure he's probably dancing around and, everything else in his couch or something. So.
Yeah.
So, we'll take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back. Everybody just hold tight.
Sasquatch Radio. Stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying the show. If you get a chance, visit the Sasquatch Watch of Virginia website. It can be found at www.sasquatchwatch.net. Sasquatch Watch of Virginia is a Bigfoot and Wildlife Scientific Field Research Association. We conduct field investigations and field research within areas of reported encounters. Our friendly research methods do not strive to harm or kill any wildlife. We seek to be cooperative and not hurtful to any person or groups or to any public or private organizations. Feel free to visit our website. Have you had a sighting of a creature? Then feel free to call our hotline to submit your encounter. Our hotline can be reached at 703-445-4287. And remember, we specialize in sightings here in the state of Virginia. Or you can report your encounter at our website under the tab Report Your Encounter. We will make certain that someone gets in touch with you. And please enjoy your visit to our website. Again, it is www.sasquatchwatch.net.
June 19th and 20th, 2010 will mark the first annual Oregon Sasquatch Symposium in Eugene, Oregon. Speakers such as Autumn Williams, Scott Nelson, Ron Moorhead, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, David Rodriguez, Kathy Moskowitz-String, Solly Shepard-Walford, Cliff Barackman, Jaime Avalos, and Tom Powell will be only some of those in attendance. The OSS was designed for Oregon researchers and witnesses to come together and discuss the implications of Sasquatch. Tickets for the symposium are on sale now. For more information about the OSS, go to the website at www.oregonsasquatchsymposium.webs.com.
You're listening to Sasquatch Watch Radio on the Blog Talk Radio Network.
Paranormal Talk Radio, bi-monthly, Wednesday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. Central. Paranormal Talk Radio divas Melissa Hovey and Monica Rollins, never afraid to tell it like it is. Too hot for prime time. 60 minutes of take no grab you by the balls. Paranormal Talk Radio. 8 to 9 p.m. Central, every other Wednesday night on Blog Talk Radio. Paranormal Talk Radio with an attitude.
Welcome back, everybody. Mike, you still with me?
I'm still here.
All right. Melissa, you still with us?
I sure am.
All right. Well, we will let Mike continue with his line of questioning, but just real quick, Melissa, I don't know if you're watching the chat room.
No, I'm not.
But just got contacted by the lady who owns the property where we're going to be doing an expedition. And there has been a new development.
A sighting?
Not a sighting. They're sleigh riding since we've got 2 feet of snow.
Uh-huh.
And her and some other folks that knew nothing about the sighting that she had was with her out there, and they heard a vocalization. And this woman, not knowing anything about her property or about her sighting, basically stood up and ran screaming to the truck. That was a frickin' Yeti.
Oh my God.
And
wow.
I'll be going out and checking that out this weekend.
Oh, good. So, good.
I just thought I'd give you that quick note.
Yeah, take lots of pictures.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, I will let you continue.
Yeah, we got quite a bunch of questions here. Let's see, the next one is from our friend Bill Green. Not quite sure where he's going with this, but I'll ask it because he's got it. Question to Mel. Do you think the Bigfoot community is a lot like Congress?
You know, honestly, here in the last month or so, you know, actually he's saying something that I actually brought up a little bit on my website here recently. I see as a field of Bigfoot research, some of the people, I see this change happening, and I see it in a larger respect when I watch different television shows. When they talk about the country and the state of our country and how things are going at this current stage, but I got to be honest with you. I see a lot of the apathy in the general community dealing with politics and this country, and I see those very same type of things happening now in the field of Bigfoot research. Things that would never have passed the muster, things that would have never, ever been held up as legitimate are being thrown about and just blindly accepted, because now the basic theory is that if you don't agree with somebody, you're not being nice. Well, you know what? It's not about being nice and making friends. It's about finding the information to get this animal documented. At least that's what I had always thought that's what this was all about, you know. And and I think that's where me and Monica really, you know, take a lot of grief from people, because, you know, we don't hold up these things as the truth. We don't hold up these things that are simply accepted to be nice as legitimate proof of this animal, because they're not, you know. And I really see a lot of parallels right now between the field of Bigfoot research and the people involved and the wider country as a whole. And it's really kind of scary. It really is. You know, and I think it's kind of funny too with recent events, and then you read about or you see on the news the whole what they call it, the environmental debate, and how that all went, you know, to blows via email. And I thought to myself, my God, I mean, this is almost exactly the same as what happens in the field of Bigfoot research. You have some people who believe something so much that they will threaten other people to shut them up. Like this, you know, it's weird. It's strange how things are happening these days. But, you know, it's such as life, you know. I suppose, you know, if one part of the world is going to be reacting in one way, I guess the other part will be too. I mean, you know, when we think that we're not oftentimes I think people in this think that we're removed from the rest of the world, and really we're not. So I guess it was inevitable that apathy would kind of start to trickle into this field of research.
Yeah. Real quick, I'm going to mention the call-in number since I haven't done it all night for those who's not in the chat. If you want to call in and ask Melissa a question, or, of course, me or Mike, you can call in at 347-237-5070. Again, that number is 347-237-5070. And I will let Mike get back to his questions.
All right. This next one is actually for you, Billy. This is from our friend Irish guy in the chat. This is I'm sure this is directed at Billy, because it's about your videos. I know Billy's got a bunch of videos up on YouTube. Irish guy says, how can you do a Sasquatch watch video without showing a picture of the world's greatest Bigfoot hunter in it? I guess. In other words, Irish guy's saying it's not an official Sasquatch watch video without JC in it. Is that what he's trying to get at?
I think so. You know, I just put up a new advertisement, and I did put JC sighting in it though. That is in it. So you know, we could all look at it in that sense. You know, that's JC's creature he saw. So in a sense, JC's in it. That's stinky. So, sorry, Irish. And I think Irish's wife done already made him get off Blog Talk anyway, so he probably missed it.
Yeah, it's 10:03. I think it's past his curfew.
That's right.
Yeah. Next question is from John, Tennessee again. He says, what do you make of the Sierra recordings from the 70s? Do you believe they are real?
Oh. Was that for me?
Yeah, I guess it doesn't specify, but it's in all caps, so I would assume.
You know, I got to be honest and tell you, I don't know what to think of them. There's some of them in there, and I've said this before, and I said this to Ron Moorhead in a radio show that I did with him. I mean, there's a couple of specific sounds in there to me that sound like a dog's squeaky toy. And I'm sorry, I can't. That's how I feel about that. But, I mean, I don't know, because there's really no documentation behind that audio, those audios. And I don't know. I mean, would like to think that they're legit, but like everything else, you just don't know. A guy by the name of Tom Steenberg, he's very prolific in this, and a great guy. He uses common sense quite often. And it's basically what he says. Until you see the animal make the sound, you can't say that that's where it came from. Because we've learned in the last couple of years that happens often. You think that it's an unknown primate, but then it turns out that they've been elk or coyotes or whatever. So, and it's unfortunate because, boy, I sure wish more than just a couple would still hold up,
Yeah.
So.
All right. Next question is another one from Mizu Squatchin. And this question says, what effective proof of Bigfoot would play on companies like Bass Pro and Cabela's? And what effect would it have on our current economy?
Boy, that's a tough one. Well, I don't know what this person's angle would be for Bass Pro and stuff, but I would probably say for the current economy, and I've argued about this with a lot of people, I think that it would be disastrous for the timber industry. And I think that those of you who like your wooden furniture in your home and your shaker and Amish-style furniture, I think that you would probably be pretty upset, because I would foresee that the areas that have had activity would probably most likely be areas that would be protected. As they would protect the habitat for that animal in that area. And that would mean that logging companies would be restricted even further from their activities, which is how we get paper and wood for building our homes and making our furniture and things like that. I don't know how you would not protect the animal and not protect its habitat. That's, to me, those things are synonymous. They're interchangeable. You can't do one without protecting the other. So I'm not really sure what would happen, but I'm fairly certain that the logging industries, although they've been cut back, I think that they would probably be cut back even further in areas where the animal has been sighted. So, but that's my own personal opinion.
Well, you have to admit one thing. Bigfoot has done a heck of a lot for Jack Lynx.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Here's a new name I don't remember seeing before. We have a question from Kriegsmarine. What is Melissa's opinion of the idea that an all-female expedition would garner better results as presented during the Monster Quest episode?
Well, I think that if you this is something that I struggle with. First of all, I don't know whether or not we would have had more results if the filming had been going on 24/7. But I think that some things did happen that never made it to film, because the cameraman was not there. So that's take that for what you want. But nonetheless, I think, because when one particular situation happened, it was myself and Monica and Kathy sitting around a fire, and we had rocks thrown at us. And at the time, the cameraman was with Kathy was with I can't believe I forgot her name. Oh, Christine and Tracy, along with Rick Knoll, and they were off filming those two elsewhere. I believe they were at least a good half mile to a mile from where we were at the campfire. So it wasn't them. And if it was somebody else who came in, we have no idea. But we had rocks thrown at us a couple times. We grabbed night vision and tried to see what it was, and we held our position. Kathy went and got some stuff for protection from her vehicle, and we could not find out what it was. We never seen what it was that was responsible for throwing the rocks. but we were just sitting around the campfire talking and laughing and having a good time. And in fact, you see part of that footage on the Monster Quest episode, because we had started that fire earlier that night, and they took off with the other two girls to do filming, and we were still sitting there at that very same fire when all that happened. So, I mean, it's hard to tell. You know, what would they be able to film and what wouldn't they be able to film? You know, if I could look into a crystal ball, you know, boy, that's what I'd do if I knew that would be what would bring the animal in. But it doesn't work like that, unfortunately, and I'm painfully aware of that.
Yeah,
I'm willing to do just about anything, so except for tie myself to a tree.
Well, that's what JC's for.
Job.
He's the bait. Yeah.
That's JC.
Yeah, you just touched on something. I was going to say, make a comment on as far as the filming of the Monster Quest episode. When they filmed ours, I said, if they would have had two camera guys, two sound guys, so they could be in two places at the same time, there'd be more of a chance that they might have caught something happening. And as it turns out, on our episode, that's exactly what happened. Is the camera guys were with Steve, and basically stayed with him the whole night. Meanwhile, we had two other guys. One guy got pine cones thrown at him, and the other guy had a large log or a large, something rolled. He said it sounded like somebody rolling a log around, large piece of, downed wood, right close to his location, and a few other things as well. And of course, the lone camera guy and sound guy were off following Steve around all night, so missed all this stuff. So yeah, I think Monster Quest, they need to have at least two sound guys and two camera guys.
Right.
And that would increase the chances that they would actually catch something really interesting on audio or video, and they could always edit out what they don't want, which, as you know, they edit a heck of a lot out. Much to our chagrin, they edited it out, a lot. But what are you going to do? We don't have control over that. But yeah, I think that's one of their downfalls is, when you only got one camera guy and one sound guy, and worse yet in Melissa's case, when the camera guy's got a self-imposed curfew of 10 p.m. At least I could say, at least our guy, at least he stayed up till about 1. I think maybe 2 o'clock on one night, but at least past 10. All right. We got another question from Slam 630 in the chat. He says, "Have you ever tried using drums or other musical instruments to draw them in?"
I've been around people who have, and nothing. It hasn't worked for us, at least not when I was around. So I've heard of other people who do that, and I'm not against it. I mean, do whatever works. But I've been around people who have tried that, more than once, and it brought nothing. So does it work? I don't know. Is it something that you shouldn't do? No, I'm not saying that. I think you should do whatever comes naturally out there. I mean, it's, enjoy yourself too. You got to do something in those hours of nothing. Yeah.
Yep. Are you questioned out yet, Mike?
There's certainly a lot of sitting around waiting for stuff to happen on expedition.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's as they, a similar aspect to a lot of the combat vets will tell you. They're on a combat patrol. It's hours and hours of boredom, punctuated by a very, quick minute or two of intense activity.
Right.
That's usually what you get on these expeditions. Hours and hours and hours of nothing, and then maybe, if you're lucky, somebody will hear something, or something will be thrown, or what have you, something. And then you hear heavy footsteps, whatever, and then just like that, it's gone again. And because you get that little taste of activity of something possibly going on, then your senses are all that much more heightened, and you stay up another 3, 4, 5 hours later than you were planning on, and of course nothing else happens after that again.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened with the ABS when we were in Salt Fork. I mean, we don't have any idea what it was we chased down the ravine after, but still, it was still pretty dang interesting. So.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, we have another question here from Ren12. Let's see. The lack of success so far needs to be looked at. The use of SAS's nature and curiosity might need to be added into the mix. Would spending more time in one area and building trust bring different results?
I really guess that depends on if you're into the whole migration theory, because if you are, then the animal wouldn't stick around the area. So you're spending an awful lot of time in an area where there's no animal, if the migration theory is correct. And if it's not, then you're dealing with a habituation. I hate that phrase, habituation situation. I hate it.
I know.
But but then you're dealing with that. And then if that's the case, then you better come up with something like within a month, because I got to tell you, I'm getting to the point where I'm really tired of hearing that. These people, they go to these same spots and they have activity over and over and over and over and over, and it's wild and it's unreal, and there's stuff thrown at them and trees coming down, and it's like the gates of hell have opened every time they step into the woods, but yet they have nothing to show for it. I've been in this now and been asking for people who are involved in these situations to bring me something, show me something, and I have gotten nothing other than zoomed out photos with red circles, and trust me, it's there. And it is so frustrating, because I would love for someone to show me something like that, and have it be legit. I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I mean, it would put me in my place. Here's the incentive for those of you that have the habituation situations, and you're upset with me because I keep saying the same thing. Show me your proof. Shut me up. I'm begging for someone to put me in my place. So, and that still hasn't happened, and it's frustrating, because I would like to see something, but I just haven't. So.
Well, hopefully that will change someday.
Yeah, let's hope so.
We got another question from Kriegsmarine. Do you think that the current state of apathy in the Bigfoot research field may deter people from getting into it?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because I have already received emails from people saying, do you people really believe this crap? And in words far more graphic than that. I am hearing things from people. I cannot believe that you people would blindly believe this and not question it. I'm hearing that all the time, as if I am going along with these things and I have to write these people back. And I'm like, no, you need to direct your email to this person or that person, because no, not all of us think that that is legit proof. It's getting a little frustrating to a point, but I have to hold out hope that eventually it will come back to where people in this community will, as a whole, start saying, you know what, we need to start asking for the proof. We have to start caring about what it's going to take to get the information that's going to prove this animal exists. We need to come back to that level again. And it was there, but it has been slowly being replaced by oh my gosh, there's 2 sticks hanging on that tree that has to be Bigfoot related. That we cannot offer up that as proof to the scientific community. As much as we would like for that to be true, you can't. The science is not going to accept that. And that's who, whether we like it or not, that's who we have to deal with if we want this animal documented. We have to impress the scientists. There's no way around it. You can't prove this animal exists without science. We are the means by which they get their information to prove the animal exists. We have to step up our game. and we have to start taking this more seriously.
All right. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully in the next couple of years something will break and we'll have the proof. But
I hope
people
so.
have been saying that for
40 years.
40 or 50 years. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even before the Patty film, when Tales of Bigfoot first came out in the 50s. But okay, question from Andy Drew. If you could only have one piece of investigation equipment, what would it be? And if you had a winning $220 million lottery ticket, how would that change your research? And would you give me some?
Okay. First question. What was the first one? Oh, what piece of equipment? If I had a piece of equipment for the field.
If you could only have one piece of
equipment,
what would it be?
I would probably have to say a camcorder, because I'm not a firm believer in thermal. I don't think thermal's going to give you any more than you could get from a camera, or from a video camera. Period. I mean, unless on that thermal, whatever you're filming, if you think it's a Bigfoot, unless it picks up a Buick, I think that might be impressive. But you can do that with a camcorder. And let's see, the second question was,
if you had the winning lottery ticket, how would that change your research? And would you share some of the winnings with Andy Drew?
Okay. If I had the winning lottery ticket, it would not change my research. I would most likely donate to organizations or individuals that I felt were doing good research. And would I donate some to Andy Drew? Absolutely. Absolutely. As long as he's out there researching, he'd be in the running.
All right. I don't know that this is a question per se, but it's in all caps, so I'll read it on air. Midnight Walker, more like a statement. But this goes back to when you were talking about, discussing about possible migration routes, if such migration exists, and basically staying in one general area versus going to different areas. Midnight Walker says, go to one spot repeatedly and you'll get your answer.
Right. Yeah, and though, I will say this. I was pretty interested a couple years back in a series of sightings that was happening. It wasn't long after I did that expedition in the Big Thicket, because we had come across a very small footprint. And, okay, I'm going to shake things up a little bit here tonight and tell people they're not born 8 foot tall. Okay? I know.
Come on.
I know this
you
is a
hurt
firmly
my
held
feelings
belief.
Now.
Yeah. I know this is a firmly held belief by a lot of people, but these things are born, and they're probably born a live birth, just like you and me. So they start out small. And we came across this track that was maybe 4 or 5 inches from toe to heel. And I was shocked. It was like January or February in Texas, and it was cold in the middle of a pipeline in a water puddle, on the edge of a water puddle. And we took photos of it, and it was just a perfect footprint, toes and everything. And I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. And then it wasn't long after that I heard about the reports of people saying that they were seeing a female and an infant, possibly. And the areas that they were seeing were between Oklahoma and this part of Texas, southeast Texas. And I thought that was really interesting. And I've kind of wondered in my own brain, because I'm really interested in, I'll be honest, I'm interested in the little ones, more so than the tall ones. The little ones can do me less harm. But I'm interested in the small ones, because if the animal's out there, there has to be a breeding population. There has to be. Or you don't have an animal, period. We're all wasting our time.
Yep.
So I'm interested in the small ones. Do they move for birthing purposes like just about any other animal out there? Do they stay in the same place? Could this account for what people are discussing for migration? I don't know. I mean, but these are questions that I have in my head, and these are the things that I'm looking for answers to. You know, and my mind, when I think about this animal and different ideas, I don't think about the big ones. I think about the small ones. And how do we prove that they're out there? That's where my mind goes. Because if they're not there, we're all wasting our time and money. Because they're not going to be there down the road.
Yep. And you know, the thing with the young ones, you know, the juvenile and even the baby squatches is, you know, if somebody was to come across, you know, a very small squatch's footprints, say in the moist sand along a creek bed or something, you know, at least if it was warm weather. If it's in the wintertime, you'd say, okay, you know, who's out here with no socks and shoes? But if it's in the warm weather and it's a very small juvenile squatch, it could well be within the human range and possibly even the human child range even, you know, if it's very small. Mm-hmm. So, I would be willing to bet that people have probably walked right past maybe some juvenile tracks and just not even given it a second thought because it's well within the normal human range, you know, and they just kind of just don't bat an eye at it. They're expecting to see 18 inches plus, you know.
Exactly.
So if you find a 6-inch track or something, you just walk right past it and 5 toes. It's somebody's kid, you know, walking around with their shoes off, you know.
Right. You know, and the logical thing here is, you know, people are looking for the track that is so huge that it's out of human proportions, that would be proof that the animal exists. Well, you know, what decent parent in their right mind is going to let their child, you know, when their foot is 5 to 6, 7 inches, you know, what decent parent is going to let their child run loose in the woods like that? You know, so, I mean, sometimes a little bit of common sense can play a part in this. When you think to yourself, no, I don't think that a parent would allow that to happen. And not in the middle of winter, not on this pipeline where this child could get severely cut and injured. So, I mean, you have to kind of think about those things too. But, you know, was it a Sasquatch, a baby one that made that print? I don't know. It was fairly awesome to see that there, though. I have spent a lot of time in the woods myself growing up and have never seen a footprint in the middle of nowhere like that. So I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, can you go ahead and read Allison's question since she asked it twice? In there is alley cats.
Okay, is that towards the bottom? Because I found a question that's not in caps, but I'm assuming it's a question for the guest from Pete Wilson. But Melissa kind of already talked about that. His question was about the camera, you know, why haven't cameras worked so far? But we kind of touched on that. But when I stop to scroll, I usually leave it on the next question, so maybe her question's down the bottom. Let me scroll down. Okay, yeah, all right, I get it all in caps here.
Yep.
Yeah, Alley Katz is asking, she would like to know what Melissa thinks about the spiritual association, as in Bigfoot as a supernatural spiritual creature.
Oh, boy. Okay. No, I don't. I don't think that Bigfoot is able to, I don't know if this is what this person is asking, but do I believe that this animal can disappear at will? No. Do I believe that this animal is able to time travel? No. I don't think that this animal jumps through wormholes. I don't think that it has some supernatural ability that any other animal on this earth does not possess. This is an animal. If this animal is out there, it's an animal. And, you know, I give credit to people who think about things, and I think it's great. But at this stage of the game, I just want to prove that the animal's there. I have nothing to prove that the animal's even there. So I wouldn't even know how to begin a conversation about whether or not this animal is able to, you know, crush up rocks and disappear. I think that some people have taken this stuff to a whole new level, though. And now, do I buy the idea that this animal would eat dirt or crush rocks or whatever and just eat them? Yeah, I would for that. It's because it's a mineral content thing. Humans eat dirt, for God's sake. But that doesn't give us the ability to disappear. It's just simply minerals. So, no disrespect for anybody who believes that. But, one mystery at a time. And at this moment, I just those are things I just don't even think about, to be honest with you. Because it's not going to help me prove the animal's out there. And I have to do that first.
Gotcha. All right. We got another question here from Polypodium. What is the most convincing piece of evidence for Sasquatch's existence, in Melissa's opinion?
Well, I'll be honest and tell you that I'm a big cast proponent. I think that castings of footprints and other parts of, the Bigfoot that have been found are good. I like the Skookum cast. I've seen copies that are not the originals, but they're copies. And the hair impressions that's impressive. The hair impressions are not that of an elk. I don't know what they are. They're too long to be from an elk, and I keep hearing that being used as an excuse, and I don't buy it. And but I think one of the best pieces of evidence so far, one of them is the Skookum cast. So, but I think that castings could be part of the help for the solution. I do. As long as people do it right.
Right. All right. Let me just scroll down the bottom here. I don't think there was any more questions after that one. Just make sure. Usually I stop the scroll and I sit on that question, the next question. I leave it there because otherwise, sometimes there's so many of them you forget which one were you on, and you go scrolling back up, you go right past it, and you ask the same question twice, and so I try to leave it where it was. But no, I don't see any more past that.
All right, good.
Comment.
As y'all know, we're not live anymore anyway.
Yeah,
we're in the archive, so.
Yeah.
But at least we got to everybody's question.
Right.
We have a Skype caller, but I don't know if it's Abe calling back in or not. But we'll go ahead and pull him in while we're still on the archives here. Skype caller, you're on the line.
Yeah, man, it's me. I just had a call back in. Something happened to the phone where I lost the signal.
All right. Well, we're still going, so
good deal.
Probably
good deal.
Get ready to wrap it up. Thanks, Abe.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess the only thing we got left to say is I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas coming up and a Happy New Year. We will have a show after Christmas, which will be the show with Todd Standing. Everybody knows as the Sylvanic guy up in Canada who has, he's put out a few videos that show an alleged creature of some sort in the videos. I'm certainly not going to say what it is because obviously I don't know. I can't get a good enough look at what's in the subject of the film to really make a determination of what it is. So, but we'll have him on the air. He's been back in the news lately. He's been trying to push for. I've always wondered about this, why people push for the protection of the species. They seem to be doing fine on their own. What do y'all think? I can't even find one.
Yeah. Well, I think overall, Billy, I think it's just a matter of just the idea. If we can protect everything else out there that has low numbers, why wouldn't we want to protect this animal?
I know. I'm just joking. I mean, you hear people say it all the time. Well, why do you have to protect something that seems not to need protection because we can't find it anyway? But at the same time, we have to keep in mind too that, of course, right now things have slowed down. But when we're out of a recession, the one thing that we all like to do is start taking out trees and start building shopping centers.
Yep.
You know, and you know, eventually something's going to come to a head. So
humans are very destructive.
That's exactly it, Billy. I mean, people, like you said, will argue, well, obviously they don't need our protection. They've been around for hundreds of years, allegedly, you know, already without our help. But, you know, the thing is, like you just touched on, you know, humans are constantly encroaching on nature. You know, we're constantly, you know, taking great swaths of you know, pristine forest lands away. And that happens every year, every month, every day in some part of the country. You know, they're building something, whether it's a new housing development for families or a big shopping center, like you said, or what have you. Golf courses even, or whatever, you know. Take all the trees out and, you know, just make it nice and flat and level and open. And, you know, every little bit that they take away from the forest, you're taking away habitat. It's just like the rainforest. And how many, you know, how many species have been, you know, greatly negatively affected already, or in some cases even, you know, become extinct because of certain other factors, mitigating factors with taking away the habitat. And that's what I think is the important thing is like you said, it might be hard to physically find the creatures at this point yet, you know, because there still is quite a bit of forest, but the more and more we take, it's going to have a negative effect on a lot of the different animals, different species, and, you know, unfortunately, you know, man just keeps taking, you know, more and more land away, and it's just not going to bode well for a lot of species.
Yeah, it's happening. I mean, it's still happening to a degree here in Virginia. We, you know, even though the residential building has pretty much come to a standstill, the commercial still seems to be going. This area has always thrived with commercial building, and you know, especially hotels and stuff like that. But shopping centers, I mean, we're building more shopping centers and grocery stores now than I can remember in recent years. And it's just amazing that, you know, that's one thing I've been trying to figure out. You know, you have an economy that's going bad. You know, everybody's you know, either out of work or, you know, just taking a low income job just to scrape by, and then yet they're putting in all these high priced grocery stores. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, I'm going over to the Super Walmart and get some cheap hot dogs. You know, I'm not going to these high-priced U-Crops and, you know, these other stores out here that's completely outrageous in price. I just don't understand how they can continue to do that, but they do. They do around here.
Right.
So, I don't know. I guess we've exhausted all the questions. Melissa, thanks for coming on the show tonight. I appreciate it because you came in at last minute.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
It was a fun show, so
yes,
everybody enjoyed it. We got tons of comments coming across the chat room.
Yep. Everybody seemed to enjoy it, and I did as well, and it's always great to have you on at any time, Melissa.
Well, thank you. I like coming on your guys' show. You guys are fun.
Yeah, we try to have a good time until Bruce shows up, because when Bruce shows up, it just kind of all goes to crap. But
yeah, all hell breaks loose.
the party's
over. He'll listen to the
party's over
archive.
when Bruce shows up. He's like
right.
he's like the anti-Pink. Instead of saying let's get this party started, let's end this.
I mean, he's always joking around about we've put him to sleep. So
yeah.
Well, that's not nice.
I don't know if you caught. I don't know if you caught some of Bruce's comments in chat tonight, Billy. I don't think he was too thrilled that I outed him as the Oreo hunter.
Anyway,
he seemed to not be happy that I was talking about it. Bruce, what can we say? You know, it's no secret that you and food are best friends. You know.
Right. But no, that last question that was asked to you, Melissa, from Alley Cats, just so you know who that is, the one that asked the spiritual question, that is the witness where we're holding the expedition. She's uncertain of what she's seen. You know, she doesn't know what she saw, But you have to also keep in mind that she also knows a lot about the paranormal side, so she's just got more questions. That's all.
Right. Well, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Ask questions, and I firmly believe in asking questions. But I just don't know. I don't know why anybody would want to subscribe those types of abilities to this animal. I mean, and I've gotten into this conversation recently, and I said to somebody else, I was like, well, does any other animal do that? And the answer is no. Well, then, why would this animal be able to?
Right. And the other thing that I've always thought about is what do we know about so-called spirits or ghosts or whatever you want to call them? They don't have a body, so how would they leave prints?
Right. We have prints.
So, right. We have prints. So,
right.
And they leave physical evidence.
Right.
They leave hair behind,
Right.
So, I mean, you look at it in that sense, it can't really be a spiritual or a ghost type thing. So.
I think what's kind of done us a disservice, and I said this when I first got involved, was just the simple fact that for years, Bigfoot conferences were intermingled with UFO or ghost conferences, and I think that's how this happened. And now, whenever you hear the word paranormal, which is actually a word that should be only for ghost hunting and things like that, you now see the word Bigfoot under that.
Right.
When Bigfoot is actually what would be called a cryptid, an undocumented animal.
Correct.
So,
but the problem is, Melissa, is that's where people look to find info on Bigfoot.
Right.
They have coined Bigfoot paranormal, and that's where people look to find information. I mean, that's even sometimes where the bookstores put it.
Right.
In the paranormal or pseudoscience, as they call it now. But
right. I mean, I don't have all the answers, and I never claim to have all the answers. But if this animal's ever found, will it be proven to have the ability to disappear at command? I'm willing to bet my life that it doesn't.
Right.
But that's not something that we're going to know until the animal is actually found.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's the case. And there's a lot of animals out there who at one time people thought did have supernatural abilities.
Right.
Talk to some of these Southwestern or some of these Native American people, and they'll tell you these things. But does coyote have the ability to change into something? No, a coyote is a coyote.
Right.
I mean, I think people need to separate the difference between spiritual and flesh and blood. There's a difference between those two.
Right.
And I think it's wonderful that Native Americans or First Nations people, that they have those kinds of things, because everything to them is spiritual. Everything to these people is earth. It's solid. But there's a spiritual aspect to everything, which I find beautiful.
Right.
But at the same point, how much of it is storytelling to keep their kids and women in line, and how much of it is reality? Because we tell stories to our kids that are not true. Like Little Red Riding Hood.
Right.
No, there's not a wolf that's going to eat grandma and sleep in her bed to trick you. It's a metaphor for something else.
Right.
So it's difficult. I have a really difficult time responding to questions like that because, eventually you're going to upset someone.
Yeah.
But.
All right. Did you have anything to add, Mike?
No, nothing specific. But again, it was great to have Melissa on the show again. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Melissa.
Again, I enjoy being here, guys. Had a good time. All right.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for Melissa. And we'll see everybody next Monday night. And everybody have a Merry Christmas.
All right. Take care, Billy.
All right. Good night.
All right.
A legend passed down through the generations. A myth to some, reality to others. Thousands claim to have encountered this creature from all around the world. Footprints discovered, unidentifiable hairs collected, unusual sounds recorded. Something is out there. Sasquatch Watch Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network, interviewing the men and women researching this phenomenon, the latest news and information, research techniques, and cutting-edge technology. True terrifying encounters, as told by those who have experienced them. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Your host, Billy Willard of Sasquatch Watch of Virginia, brings you the most riveting discussions on the internet today. blogtalkradio.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Sasquatch Watch Radio. The truth is out there. Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio.
There's more to your story. More pages, new chapters. You can feel it. And now you're ready to grow. Laurel Ridge Community College is ready for you. Your real-world experience gives you an important head start. And with training, degrees, and certificates for the careers that are most in demand, you can do more, earn more, and advance more. Turn the page and start your story. Grow with us at Laurel Ridge. Visit laurelridge.edu/pathways.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.